Group decision-making tools. Brainstorming. Pros and cons analysis. Decision matrix. Multi-voting nominal group technique. Don't just make lists and vote. As stated earlier, decision-making effectiveness will improve significantly if you use a formal decision-making tool. Using such tools helps for two reasons. First, most formal tools involve some form of visual information sharing and capture. It's tough to use a formal tool without also capturing what is said and shared as the tool is used, especially in a group. I mean, you can think through a cause and effect diagram in your mind, but think about trying to verbally describe that evolution of a cause and effect diagram as the team's working through it. Can't be done. You need a visual tool that shows progress through the root cause analysis process, or the problem-solving process, or the research and development process, or the decision-making process. Secondly, using a tool provides structure to the decision-making process. It gives you consistency across groups and hopefully reduces the variation over time. With structure, a defined process, people both know what to expect and what to prepare for. Using a structured process also helps cut down on time waste, as you're less apt to have to retrace your steps. We've got visual evidence of the information and ideas that we've already covered. The 4 tools described in this visual represent the most common approaches that are used for formal decision making. There's other approaches out there. One that comes to mind is the Taproot root cause analysis process. All these approaches are visual in nature, but you need to take tool-specific training in order to gain proficiency at using those tools. And actually not just tool-specific training, but tool-specific training plus a fair amount of practice. And that's for any of the tools. The above 4 tools can be used easily to address the majority of the decisions your team will need to make. Our tendency is to focus more on making lists than it is on effectively selecting the right actions from the list. Think about that. Think about the group experience you've been in. Think about how often people love to brainstorm, they love to make lists. But the process of prioritizing the list or selecting the best items from the list, folks are less attracted to that. Focus more on the criteria, the hard and soft factors, the musts and wants that the decision will be based on. Engage the right mix of process owners and subject matter experts in the decision analysis process. Avoid the temptation to simply make lists and vote. If you want to learn more about these tools, I suggest that you either purchase a memory jogger book from Gold QPC or simply do your own internet research. Start with Wikipedia. If you invest about 15 to 20 minutes of internet search time on each of these 4 tools, I'm pretty sure you're going to find enough instructional material to get you started. Example decision matrix. There are a variety of types of decision matrices out there, and I am a big fan of them. I don't like to legislate their design, but I very much like to legislate their use. One of the approaches that I truly like is the one offered by Kempner-Trago. Kempner-Trago Decision Analysis Tool. Check it out, because it requires you to, 1, separate your project selection criteria into musts and wants. Okay, first of all, think about that. What do we want this decision to give us? We want to pick the option that gives us what features, and which ones are musts and which ones are wants. And then within your wants list, weight your wants. What wants carry a weight of 10? What wants carry a weight of 5? What nice to haves carry a weight of 1 or 2? I encourage you to do an internet search and explore the different approaches that exist for deciding which projects should be worked on. Don't waste energy debating which decision matrix approach to use. Use this energy to make the decision to use such a tool instead of relying on opinion. Try different tools out. Unfortunately, most companies still rely on the opinions of their managers when it comes to deciding which items on the list need to be worked on first, and that's dangerous. People have short memories. In this example, in the visual, 14 possible projects are listed. Most decision matrices are structured this way. The rows are used to list the projects or options that are under consideration. And in this example, the bulk of the columns represent what I like to call increase-decrease objectives. So this is a way of saying at a location, what are our key projects for the year? And we want to make sure they're aligned with the key strategic objectives of the organization. And all organizations have either things they want to get better at, increase objectives, or things they would like to stop doing, decrease objectives. And you'll notice in this example, we've got about 6 or 7 of each. So it's a great, simple way to teach everybody how to evaluate options against what the organization is trying to accomplish. Okay? So, we want to always decrease accident frequencies, product waste, customer complaints. We are always trying to improve employee morale, customer satisfaction levels, or profit margins. We want to score each project as to the anticipated impact it's projected to have against each of the increase-decrease objectives. Now, you can do this 2 ways. In the example, we just showed there's a connection. The next evolution beyond that is to use a weighting factor. And so, for example, you might want to use a weighting factor that ranges between a low of 1 or no impact and a 5, which would be high impact. You could also just color code. Red for high impact, yellow for low impact, green for, make up your own colors. After each project is scored against each objective, total up your scores. Now, in this example, you'd say, well, project 1 is linked to 3 objectives, project 2 is linked to 3 objectives, but we've got a couple up here that are linked to 4 objectives. So, does that mean they're more important? Then we want to have our dialogue at this point. Don't automatically go with the projects that receive the highest score. Still use your best judgment, but think about what shaped that judgment. This approach, or one similar to it, does, however, significantly reduce the potential damage of relying on opinion alone. You're making it visual, you're using criteria, and then you're having dialogue about how do we end up with the selections that this tool is recommending. How do you pick your projects? Would you benefit from the use of a decision matrix? Here's a few more decision-making tools. I'll give you the name of the tool and the primary use of the tool. You can do research beyond that. Several of these come from the second set of management planning tools. I've also mentioned some of these already in the lesson. Decision trees. Decision trees are used to evaluate the linkages between different options. A fault tree might be an example of a decision tree. Cost-benefit analysis, very important. Hard and soft cost-based analysis that helps look at different options from a return on investment perspective. We can look at plus-minus interesting ratings, PMI rating. That's an alternative to the basic pros and cons analysis. I just mentioned the Kempner-Trago decision tool a little bit earlier. We can use affinity diagrams to group things that are common together. Force field analysis is a great tool to analyze the different factors that create pressure for and against change. Peter Senge and his team at Systems Thinker bring up the ladder of inference. It helps keep us from jumping to conclusions. We look at how we got to where we are. We can also do paired comparison analysis, actual statistical analysis to gauge the relative value of different options. You can use the Delphi technique, which is voting from subject matter experts to help reach consensus. And there's a variety of ways you can do that. And then there's Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats, which looks at your different options from 6 different creative perspectives. Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats. The most cost-effective way to learn more about these tools is to first of all do a web search to collect additional how-to details, about 10 or 15 minutes a tool. Number 2, pick a couple that you like and then practice the use of these tools on your own individual decisions. Are you looking to buy a car or a new computer or, do some landscaping in the yard, send the kids to some kind of camp next summer? Use these tools to practice those decisions in your home before attempting to use them with a group, unless you know the group really well and you can have fun with our goofs. Using visual aids. Visual aids are mainly used to enhance participation, reinforce a point, capture ideas, and track group progress. Visual aids allow us to use artistic expression, use color and symbols to make a point and help ideas stick, add creative touches, and more importantly, more clearly tell a story. And we have digressed so much from the use of visuals in meetings and in training. We love them so much on our phones. We spend so much time on YouTube, and yet we get to work, we go in a meeting room, and we either start talking or we have stale PowerPoints to stare at. Bad visual aids usually have two main problems: too much and too small. Most people have a tendency to put too much information on one visual. There's space, I've got to fill up the space. As they try to cram a lot of information on a slide, they end up using a print or type size that's too small to be read from more than 5 feet away. It's also often the case that the visual developer has not adopted the perspective of the audience, the customer in other words, and thought about what the visual actually looked like to the person on the back row. The rule of sevens can be used even in 2023 to control the amount of information on a given PowerPoint slide or visual. This rule limits a visual aid to 7 lines of information with a maximum of 7 words per line. By combining the use of this rule with the use of the entire 8.5 by 11 or A2 page that is available, a visual that is readable from as far away as 60 feet can be obtained. Following the rule of sevens will eliminate most visual problems when PowerPoint slides are used, and you don't always have to hit it, just shoot for it. Basic visual aids have only words on them. This sounds simple, but by using different type sizes and fonts are the way a letter is shaped, along with pictures, a lot can be done to help facilitate effective decision making and memory enhancement. Emphasizing key points and ensuring customer understanding through readability are the 2 main goals of visual aid construction. So we want to emphasize key points and ensure customers get those key points. Using colors and pictures aids considerably in retention and distinction enhancement. So it helps us remember things and helps us make distinctions between things. Colors make keywords, phrases, and impact terms stand out on the visual. Retention is also increased if team members are given a picture to match with a concept or to help link 2 concepts together. It's for this reason that flip chart or whiteboard use is so important in helping to make good decisions. When you rely only on PowerPoint slides to present the facts prior to making a decision, people will forget what they previously saw. When the time comes to actually make a decision, most of the facts that were previously talked about have already been deleted, distorted, generalized, if not forgotten altogether. So we wrap this lesson up with a fast chip startup decision-making worksheet. And this is one of the individual versus team type exercises. And you're welcome to work through it on your own first and then get together a group of people and then work through it again. And then let me know if you'd like the expert results, and we'll see how things end up. All right. There's also in the workbook for this course, the Facilitating and Leading Teams print workbook or ebook that can be purchased from Amazon. Team decision-making exercise number 1. And with this one, what we are trying to do here is just identify key performance areas in our organization, identify what our key increase and decrease objectives are for those key performance areas, define a key ratio for each defined objective, and then link the objectives to the key performance areas. And I give you an example matrix to work with. But again, it's just practice facilitating the group through choices. And then the second exercise is to identify projects using those objectives. So for example, we want to increase profits by improving packaging appearance. Okay, so which objective do we either want to increase or decrease, and what are we going to change system-wise or product and service-wise to help make that happen? So just another little exercise you can work on. It's been fun sharing lesson 7 with you. It's a short lesson, but it is one that can make a ton of difference in your organizations because we spend so much time trying to make decisions. And I believe you can cut that time in half at least by using these tools, and probably by 2/3, and still make as good, if not better, choices. Have fun making choices. I'll see you in lesson 8. Keep improving.